believe it's been 10 years since the original BMW S1000RR was released. Think about it, back then, there was really only 4 big players in the liter bike market as far as inline 4s were concerned. You know, the Japanese guys, Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, Yamaha. When it came to inline 4-cylinder liter bikes, those were the ones to beat. And then BMW said, we're going to enter that market, we're going to build an inline 4, and we're going to kill you guys. And they did, and the S1000 was an awesome bike, but it's only received incremental updates 10 years on. But for the 2020 model year, at least here in the States, BMW has wiped the slate clean and have brought out a brand new S1000RR that you see behind me. Now, by the time you've watched this video, a lot of the European journalists and some other people have already ridden the bike. BMW says the new S1000RR is all new. Nothing is shared with the old bike, not even a bolt. There were some key design factors for it though. There were some things they really wanted to target when they were going to improve upon the previous S1000RR. The 2 goals, as far as Nate Kern, their global S1000RR brand ambassador, told me, were 1 second a lap faster around pretty much any racetrack. That's hard enough in itself, but then the other goal was to shave weight, 25 pounds to be exact. And the S1000 you see behind me, the 2020 model, achieves those things. Every track they go to, it's faster. They say the weight goal has definitely been achieved. 25 pounds weight reduction. 8 of those pounds are in the engine alone. So let's go take a look at the engine, at least what we can see of it, and talk about it some more. So there it is, the S1000 999cc inline 4-cylinder engine. You can't see a whole lot of it, granted, but it's there, and it's not at all the same from the previous S1000RR. So, weight reduction, key factor. A lot of internal parts went into it to, lighter, stronger, more powerful, all that good stuff. The biggest change with the S1000 engine, though, for 2020 with the new model is BMW's shift cam technology, which you and I would probably know as variable valve timing. It allows a much broader spread of power, much earlier in the rev range. BMW says there's a max torque rating of 83 pound-feet, but you get about 75 pound-feet at 5,000 RPM, thanks to the shift cam variable valve timing technology. Max power is 205 horse at the crank, and so, this thing boogies. 435 pounds wet is what BMW says the new bike weighs, but the bike you see behind me is the M package, just like BMW cars have the M package, M5, M3, M2, what have you. Now BMW is adopting the M package on its motorcycles as well. What that means as far as the S1000 is concerned, lighter weight. You have a lithium-ion battery to shed some weight. You have these really trick carbon fiber wheels that you can probably see right there, and then some other goodies here and there to basically shave some weight. You have, of course, the M package colorway that you see there too, so it looks really sharp. Let's go explore some other stuff about this bike as well. Starting with the design of the whole bike, you can clearly see the S1000 looks nothing like the bike it replaces. Maybe the most obvious change is the asymmetrical headlights are gone. Some of you probably cheering for joy. The other part of the population is probably really upset BMW did this. Personally, I think it looks way better with the symmetrical headlights the way it does now. But part of that styling change too was to make the bike slimmer, especially at the gas tank and the seat junction. The bike just feels narrower than it did before, which is real nice. Of course, you've also got the safety options like ABS, traction control, wheelie control, engine brake control, all those things. Now there's a 6-axis IMU to even more finely control the traction control settings. And I've only spent about 2 or 3 sessions on track so far, and alright, S1000RR for 2020. Barber Motorsports Park. Got the cameras on my helmet on the motorcycle. Let's see how this goes. My outlap, so I want to take it easy for a second. too crazy. So I spent the first 2 sessions this morning in varying rider modes. Road, and then sport. Let's see what that's like. And I mean, you can tell they were not so track focused as far as their settings. So apart from the vibrations that, yes, are really surprising on the new S1000RR, or at least the one that I rode, what might be even more surprising is the lack of power down low. Yeah, I said a lack of power from a liter class engine, especially one with the shift cam variable valve time technology. And having watched some of the European reviews, no one's complaining about the power from the S1000, but what I thought was really early TC intervention on the S1000, turns out there's a huge flat spot down low on the S1000. The bike basically isn't really making much power down below, which seems odd considering it has the shift cam variable valve timing. Turns out, in order for the US bikes to meet EPA sound regulations, they had to tune the S1000 differently, basically shutting off the secondary butterflies in the exhaust so that it could meet the sound requirements. And then, after about 6 to 8,000 RPM, that butterfly opens up, and then there's a rush of power that hits you. It's a little, I don't want to say alarming, but it's, you know, you notice it for sure. There's no power down below, and then suddenly there's a big rush of power between, 8,000 or so. It's sad, but, you know, BMW has to do what they have to do to meet the US regulations, and I'm sure once somebody can develop a new flash for the ECU to really waken it up and bring back all that power that, say, the European bikes have, that should be a really good asset to the S1000. The other thing that I wasn't so hot about, you know, in theory, the dynamic suspension should work well, and maybe for 90% of riding, it will perform its function great, but when pushing at the racetrack, the S1000 kind of felt vague is not the term I want to use, but it's the best term I can think of right now. I don't want to call it, it doesn't handle bad. It's far from a bad handling motorcycle, but it's not as precise of a handler as I was maybe hoping or thinking it would be. Whereas, say, the RSV4 is like a scalpel, you can put that bike anywhere you want it. With the S1000, it's more of a steak knife, I guess? It's sharp. It'll definitely go in the area you want, at least compared to the RSV4, but it's not as finely tuned a handling machine as the RSV4. In the end, the S1000 has me conflicted. It's a great bike with a lot of potential, but it's choked back by Uncle Sam with all the regulations pretty much choking its power down below. Like I said, an ECU reflash would go a long way towards making the S1000 in the US behave a lot like what other reviewers and owners are reporting. I'm not super happy with the TC settings, even at the race mode. It intervenes way too soon and for way too long, but with the Race Pro mode, you can adjust those settings to your liking. The problem with the Race Pro mode is it's an additional $3,700 on top of the bike. It seems like a steep hit, but probably if you're in the market for the M package S1000, you might be willing to pony up that cash anyway, especially if you're coming from, say, a Ducati Panigale or an Aprilia RSV4. So let's go take a look at some of the other components of the S1000RR, and we'll get into a little bit more detail about them in a second. The braking system, radial mount calipers, you have a Nissan master cylinder, pretty standard stuff. The braking power comes on, you know, the initial bite's actually kind of soft, but then the power builds and builds and builds really nicely. I wouldn't say they're weak, but I kind of expected a little more braking power. Maybe just a change of pads would do the trick, but They're not bad, they're just not what I expected it to be. Very soft bike with power that builds as you clamp on the lever some more. So here you see the business end of the S1000RR. On the left you have the menu screen buttons, the traction control buttons. You've got cruise control, the spinny wheel that all the BMWs have to change different settings and displays on the screen. On the right, your start, stop switch, the mode switch, and heated grips. So yeah, the S1000RR has both cruise control and heated grips, along with, you know, traction control and 205 horsepower. Let's turn on the 6.5-inch Tft, and look at that. That is pretty sweet. Now, the BMW Tft screens that I've tried on like the R1200 GS have been some of my favorite. They're crystal clear and they're super huge. I mean, this is 6.5 inches. Like, that's amazing. And, you know, it's a clearly bright day today, and I can read the display just fine. There's no glare. You know, all the displays are crystal clear, nicely, you know, organized. There's not any clutter there. I know exactly what's going on. And there's other menu screens that we can change to get the information too. There's a race setting where it's just the tack and gear indicator and like lean angle sensor, lap times, that kind of a thing. So there's other settings we could use to display on this screen. So I'm gonna go do some more laps on the 2020 S1000RR. Oh, by the way, over on this side is the quick shifter in both directions, which works really, really well. One of the things I complained about with the previous S1000 was the quick shifter wasn't the most advanced system in the world. Shifts weren't super crisp, especially on the downshift. With the new version, the software that they've input into here is really good. Your upshifts are crisp, your downshifts are super nice. The only time you use the clutch now is to leave a stop. So I'm really impressed with that. All my niggles about this bike have the potential to be changed, which I guess is a silver lining. Maybe the sour part about this whole thing is that you're paying a pretty penny, 25-ish thousand bucks if you're gonna opt for the M package. You're getting, you know, a bike that maybe doesn't feel complete. If you're paying that much cash for the bike, maybe you want a bike that you don't need to make further changes to go out there and rip. So ultimately, the decision is up to you. If you're really in love with the S1000, all the bones are there for a good motorcycle, but just know that, at least in my opinion, it's gonna need a little bit more to really unlock its full potential.